Thursday, September 26, 2019. Digital Trends Live is about to start. Here are some of the topics we'll be covering today. Amazon has unleashed a ton of new hardware upon the world, including Alexa-enabled earpods, some new smart glasses, and even a smart ring. We'll bring you up to date on some of the new products. And Facebook had their own event with Oculus Connect 6, which is about all things VR, including a new social media platform for virtual reality called Horizon. And we'll head to our New York studio today, where Digital Trends Editor-in-Chief Jeremy Kaplan will be standing by with Ryan DeTurt, the CEO of Influence, a mobile-first influencer platform. And a hypersonic space plane utilizing synergetic air-breathing rocket engines could lead to commercial jets reaching speeds of Mach 5.4 with travel times of 4 hours from London to Sydney. All that and more coming up on Digital Trends Live. You don't want to ride a 4-hour?
I'm not getting on that thing.
You're not going to get on that plane?
Mach 5.
It's 4 hours. Mach 5. I mean, why not? You know, it's a rocket engine. Just
I did like the song Mach 5, but I'm not sure I'm ready to jump on a rocket just yet.
Well, all right. That's the breaking news that we have here. But let's talk about some other stuff. Hello, this is Digital Trends Live. This is our daily show here from Digital Trends, bringing you trending tech topics of the day, news, interviews, headlines, discussions, and more, all while broadcasting live across a number of different platforms. We're on Facebook, Periscope, Twitter, Twitch. We're on LinkedIn Live. We're on YouTube. We're on Dailymotion. We're on Apple News. We're on 2 different mobile apps. We're on a smart television app, and we are at digitaltrends.com/live. So drop in your comments, your questions as we go throughout the show, and we'll make sure to address those on the air. But to start off, I'm Greg Nibbler, joined by Ryan Juanita. Hello, Ryan.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I am very well. Thank
Excellent.
you for having me.
Yes, thank you for being here. Let's make this very formal today.
Let's do that.
All right, let's talk about some trending news, and it's been kind of trending all week long, but we finally got to see what Amazon released for their hardware updates,
Yeah.
and it was a lot. A lot of things came out.
Yeah.
We want to walk through a few of them. I know that you specifically have something when it comes to the sound side of things that you want to address. Before we do that, let's talk about a little bit about the wearable side. And we've got a full write-up at Digital Trends going through everything, but just on the wearable side, they did do some interesting things, and it's kind of furthers that goal that Amazon has of putting Alexa in everything.
Right.
They really want you to have Alexa in everything, and they mean that.
And they want to do it all at once, too.
All at once,
They've been doing these events. It's the second year in a row where they just sort of vomit out this absolute
That is one way to describe it.
explosion of products. You can't even keep up with what they are. You're just kind of scratching your head as they spit towards you, and it's a very interesting approach because
it is.
It basically sort of just saturates the news cycle, but I don't know if it's very easy to focus on any of the products really specifically.
Well,
so then you're kind of left to sort of pick up the pieces afterwards and say, what the hell was that?
What was this?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that you do make a good point, because last year we had the Amazon or the Alexa wall clock. You have the microwave. Yeah, that was kind of the famous one last year.
Yeah.
Well, this year they came out with a few, so we're just going to highlight a couple of those. One being this, I think actually could really make some traction, and that's the Echo Buds. So this is their version of the AirPod, the Alexa-enabled wireless earpods. I do want to know what you think, Ryan, because this is something that you review all the time.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this? How do you feel about their placement, the technology in this compared to some of the other wireless earpods?
Well, it's an interesting play, isn't it? It's really late in the market at this point to come out with your first pair of true wireless earbuds, but it seems like every major tech company wants to have one. I won't be surprised if Facebook comes out with a pair pretty soon.
I would not be surprised about that either.
But yeah, there are some interesting things to these earbuds. They do have noise canceling, and it's leveraged from Bose. So that's good news, right?
Yeah.
Bose is the leader in noise canceling, so it's kind of interesting that Amazon, which is a massive company, would partner with another massive company that's also an audio company for their first in-ear audio product. But here we are. But the other interesting thing about these is they're really middling when it comes to battery life, and you would think that Amazon would want to leapfrog to the next gen, because as we've written about for about a year now, there's new chipsets that allow these earbuds to last for much longer than they used to, up to 10, 11, 12 hours per charge. Maybe we haven't got to 12 yet, but it's getting there.
It's getting there, yeah.
The Beats Pro, Powerbeats Pro, they came out with 9 hours to sort of jump right over the AirPods. The AirPods was an iterative, new piece. The AirPods 2 was a very iterative upgrade, so that was only 5 hours.
Yeah.
And that's what we've got with the Echo Buds, just 5 hours. Now, I should caveat that a lot of the other earbuds that we've seen that have noise canceling have lower battery. The Sony, for instance, has 6 hours while you're using noise canceling, but 8 hours while you're not. We haven't heard
There's some differentiation.
Yeah, we haven't heard about that from Amazon, whether you can turn off noise canceling and get more. All we know is it's up to 5 hours, which means it could be even less than 5 hours per charge with noise canceling on. And if that's the case, they're not going to be very competitive in the market, but we have to wait and see.
Yeah, and I mean, the price-wise, they are going to come in at least lower. I think the price was going to be about $130,
which is great.
Pre-order now. Yeah, 4 true wireless earbuds. That's a good price.
That is a good price, especially because Sony's are $220. So that's a big difference there. But still, it's sort of interesting to see them jumping into what we were thinking of battery life in 2016 for 2019 and 2020.
And the thing is, I think if you get over that $120 range, at that point, you're spending. I mean, it's not super cheap to get these things.
Right.
To be honest, like, would you want to just spend a little bit extra? Or maybe, $50, $60 extra or something, and get something with longer battery life.
Yeah, and again,
or I guess up to $100 for the Sonys, but that's the top of the line.
Well, and Samsung's Galaxy Buds came out at $130. They have about 6 hours of battery life, and they don't have noise canceling. So, you could make an argument that the Echo Buds are sort of, jumping ahead of those earbuds, but those also came out at least 6 months ago or longer.
Yeah.
You would just think that they would try to get that battery life a little higher up, because that sort of tends to be where we judge these with true wireless, because they just don't have the kind of battery life of other kinds of headphones.
Yeah.
If you look at an over-ear headphone from Sony and others, it's 20, 30 hours per charge. Now, they do have a charging case, which gives you 20 more hours, just like the AirPods. But it's kind of weird to see an AirPods level of battery life coming out in 2019, because we all expect the AirPods to jump much higher than that with the next iteration that comes out.
Well, we'll have to see where those go. Let us know what you think about that in the chat on whatever platform you're on. I'm curious to see, if this is something that you really want to pick up, that you want to buy at that price with all of those different caveats.
It is a great price.
The price is good. Let's talk about a couple of the other Alexa-enabled devices that they came out with. The Echo Frames. Now, you would think with all of the different augmented reality glasses out here that that's what we're looking at with this, but it's not. It really is a set of glasses with 2 speakers on each side, one on each side, and it is Alexa-enabled. It'll connect via Bluetooth to your phone, and you can basically talk to Alexa wherever you are.
Yes.
Walk around and have that answer back to you. And the speakers, I guess, are aimed, so generally speaking, you're the only one that's going to hear it. It's got no camera on it, so there's no camera with this thing. There is a little light that you can see, the wearer, that'll let you know, when it's on, when it's actually reading you or listening to you. But that's what these are really all about. It's just speakers on your glasses.
Yeah, so this is exactly, going back to Bose, this is the Bose Frames.
Yeah.
Except this time it's not sunglasses, it's regular glasses. But Bose Frames came out, I think, about a year ago, and they have this similar technology, AR. Of course, as we should say for the Echo Buds, it's all about Amazon, right?
Right.
They all have Amazon in it, so it's about the assistant. Like you said, it's about getting the assistant and everything. And we should mention that the Echo Buds also have Siri or Google Assistant, depending on your phone. So there's a lot of functionality there. But yeah, with the frames, that's a very cool product. I loved the frames for what they do, but it is also really limiting, because for one thing, you couldn't wear the frames inside because they're sunglasses.
Yeah.
So these glasses, at least you can wear them inside, but do people want to have sort of somewhat clunky pair of glasses with headphones in them all the time?
Yeah.
So they can speak with Alexa? I'm not sure.
Yeah, not sure if that's what people want.
But you can also jam tunes, so
Right.
that's nice too.
I suppose so, yeah, through your glasses.
And one of the things I did like about the frames is you can just walk around and talk to people and also have some music going on, so you can kind of turn in some ambient music into the conversation. Yeah. But it's a strange product in some ways.
They did talk about how these things, they're going to have, for some of these wearable devices, specific apps on Alexa, or skills rather, for like Whole Foods. So they said that you could walk around and be like, where's the butter? And it will tell you where the butter is in Whole Foods, which means it's going to be a whole bunch of people walking around talking to themselves, which I'm not sure if I really like that idea. But
yeah, well, let's not say a whole bunch just yet.
Okay, fair enough.
One weird guy, maybe. But
that's
yeah,
true.
And
that's going to happen anyway.
How are they going to know about that happens every day on my way to work. How are they going to know which Whole Foods? Do they have a plan laid out for every single
Maybe they're
Whole
all laid
Foods?
out the same. I really have haven't studied
If
that
the
part
manager of the Whole Foods decides to move the butter, does he have to check in with Alexa through the nerve center? How does that
a bunch of
work?
people walking up and down the aisles. Where's the butter? All right,
You've moved the butter.
There's that. So there's the Alexa Frames or Echo Frames. That's one of the other wearable devices. And then you also have this one, which is called the Echo Loop, because they can't call it Ring because they've already got the Ring doorbell. So it is a Ring, though. That is what it is. It is an Alexa-enabled Ring that you wear. It's got apparently 2 tiny speakers in it. You can speak to it, so it said you can whisper very softly, and it will pick up what you're saying. And the speaker, I guess, is low enough to where other people, they said, probably won't hear it, because it'll be so close to you that you'll be able to hear it, but most people won't unless they're right next to you. Yeah, as you're speaking to your Ring, walking around. This one is the funniest to me. Is this concept of having an Echo, an Alexa-enabled Ring that you're walking around with?
They really are figuring out, as you said. I mean, we keep saying.
And that's the theme.
What could we possibly jam Alexa into? What
in
could it
everything.
be? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Alexa-enabled combs are coming. You know, it's
going to be everything. So that's what we're looking at with this. So that is the Echo Loop. That was one of the other devices. Last thing we wanted to get to, and I know we have a lot to get to here in the next 15 minutes or so for news, but there was something that you thought was a pretty neat advancement.
Yeah, the Echo Studio is going to be an interesting speaker. It's coming in at $200, and it seems like it's going to be a Sonos One or a HomePod competitor. It's sort of built for sound. It's not built for just talking to. As everyone knows, the Echo speakers sound okay. They sound pretty decent, you know, but they also listen very well, and they let you do all the Alexa things. This is jumping into that next step of trying to do sort of a hi-fi speaker. It's got Omni sound all around it, and then there's some really interesting parts to it in that it leverages codecs from both Dolby Atmos and Sony's new 360 sound protocol or format, whatever you want to call it. So that's interesting because if you know anything about Dolby Atmos, this started out in theaters. We're talking about dozens of speakers all over the theater to a completely immersive.
Which is incredible sound.
It's amazing, and it also works really well in soundbars if you do it right. You do up-firing speakers, you do surround sound speakers and satellite speakers that are surrounding you. So you've got a whole surround thing, and it immerses you in sound. But how do you do that with a speaker that's singular and sitting on a desk and then call it Dolby Atmos? We're still trying to find out about that. We've actually reached out to Dolby to have them explain more what they mean by Atmos, because the way we know it, it's a very immersive, technology, and we're not sure how that's going to work in this speaker. But it is interesting that it's leveraging this. And the other component that's really interesting to this is that Amazon Music HD, which just came out earlier in the month, is going to be the first music streaming service that has Dolby Atmos music built into it. So Dolby Atmos music, we haven't really even gotten a chance to experience this yet, but this is going to be pretty interesting because you could only get it on disc before this. And it's going to, again, create that immersive sound. So if you, say, have a Dolby Atmos system at home or a Dolby Atmos soundbar, you can get it through the Amazon service. HD. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know how that's going to work with a singular speaker sitting on a desk.
Well, we'll have to find out. And that's just part of the announcements. They have a ton of stuff, and we've got it all at Digital Trends. They can go take a look at, peruse everything. Let us know what you think about that. I know we need to get to some other stuff, but that's actually pretty exciting. We'll look forward to seeing what they can actually do with that Dolby Atmos side of things.
And it's only $200.
At $200.
It's a pretty good price for a speaker with that much technology built in.
A lot to take a look at with that when it comes to the Amazon hardware announcements. Let's go on to this, though. It is now time for some Read 'em and Weep. This is where we take a look at some of the comments that come through across our many different platforms, and we address those comments directly to you. We look you in the eyes. We'll respond right now. This will let you know how we feel about this. Ryan's going to be very honest. He's going to be very open about his feelings when it comes to some of these comments.
And John, I usually do cry. It's supposed to be a joke, but I actually usually cry.
He does. He weeps in the hallway afterward. John, regarding biotech startup wants to put your DNA in a vault on the moon. Pass. My DNA is unfit to be. My DNA is unfit to be saved or used. My DNA is the equivalent of genetic dumpster juice. Wow.
Damn.
John, come on, man. It can't be that bad. Nobody's saying that. Your DNA is dumpster juice. I know I have to work.
It's not supposed to be write 'em and weep. It's read 'em and weep.
Just a bunch of dumpster juice.
That's rough.
Well, John, I'm sorry about that, and I think everybody would be honored to have your DNA in the. I don't know where this is going. I'm not really sure what to do. John, sorry about that. Noy Fontes, regarding Huawei Mate 30 Pro review, the best smartphone you can't buy. Don't tell me what I can or can't buy. I can buy this, and in fact, I will. All right. That's standing up to Julian or whoever put that review up there.
Yeah.
Julian tried to boss him around and said, no.
Not having it.
Not going to have it. not happening, Julian. I am going to buy it. I'm going to fly to China, and I'm going to pick up that phone.
It's not going to work very well here.
It will not, but nonetheless.
You can buy it.
You do not boss around Fontes. That's, if anybody knows
Don't mess
anything,
with Fontes.
You don't do that. So I understand that. We'll make sure that Julian's aware of that. I'm assuming he did that review. I don't know. But all right.
Good call.
That's on YouTube, so thank you for that. All right, win the Trung. Okay, some of the names today. This is on Facebook. Regarding Boston Dynamics, Spot is a cool robot, but is that enough for success? I am waiting for them to put a sentient AI on their Atlas platform and call it Chappie. It doesn't look like it's that far away.
Yeah.
I think at this point, with seeing that video, did you see the video of the parkour and the?
I haven't seen the latest
The
one,
newest
but I've
one?
seen a
Oh
lot
my
of those
God.
where he's jumping upstairs and everything.
This one's even more. He's jumping up in the air and doing like flips and twirls and like jumping jacks. I mean, it's insane. It looks like it's CGI. If it came out as CGI, I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't think that it is.
Man.
Yeah, it's unnerving.
Why are they building
no,
Terminators?
This is not something that we want. Absolutely, we don't want. We don't want Chappie.
They've all seen the movie Terminator,
Yeah.
and then they still built Terminators.
Right, that's true.
I just don't understand.
Although, I mean, if Chappie comes back, I think we need a short circuit. That's what we need.
That'd be
We need
great.
Johnny 5. All right, continuing on. Nedster. Regarding Amazon gives everyone a first look at new Echo Studio and celebrity voices. Wouldn't it be awesome if you forgot to turn off the lights and your Alexa, Samuel L. Jackson, yelled, "Turn off the..." Yes, I do like that. I cut myself off there because I got into it too much. Yes, that is true. So they do have these celebrity voices that you can now purchase. I think it's like 99 cents, and you can turn your Alexa into that. I mean, Samuel L. Jackson, that's kind of cool. And I guess there's an explicit version that you can get.
The interesting thing about this, too, that I found is that they're not making these people record everything they want them to say. They're actually using, some kind of technology that allows you to just mimic the voice for whatever they want it to say.
Yeah.
Which is both frightening and intriguing.
Yep. Yeah, that kind of technology is getting pretty incredible of how they can do that.
Deep fakes, and then now they're on the audio side of it.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
I don't like it. Ryan says no. All right, well, Nedster, thank you. Thank you very much for that comment. That was on Twitter. Again, this is Read 'em and Weep, our segment here every day at Digital Trends Live. Richard, regarding Virgin Galactic, is one step closer to making space tourism a reality. Their plane goes high enough to see more curvature of the Earth, but not even close to space. Considering the price, it's not worth it, unless we could just send up all the flat earthers and get them to shut up.
That would be worth it.
I'm on it with that. Yeah, that is
the same thing.
The price is
Put
worth it.
every flat earther on one of those planes.
100%. I mean,
we could finally solve something.
That's
we
true.
never solve anything.
And something that I would say the majority of us are in agreement with. That,
yeah, I would
yes,
say so.
Send the flat
for
earthers
about the
up
last
in the space
800
plane.
years.
Yeah, and just watch their faces. Oh. Okay.
Dang it.
It's done with mirrors.
I
That's what they're
swear.
doing. It's mirrors.
Yeah, they wouldn't believe it anyway. They'd
No,
just
they
say that the windows are 4K screens.
Dude, I have fallen
never
down the
believe
flat
it.
earther wormhole before. It is insane. There's an ice
very
wall, by the
frustrating.
way. It surrounds the Earth. Sorry, spoilers. All right.
Very frustrating.
Let's continue on. We need to get through some news here quickly because we have a lot to do here on this Digital Trends Live episode. But let's get to Facebook, and they had their own announcement yesterday, coming up with the Oculus Connect 6 convention. This is their where they talk about virtual reality and talking about different advances with Oculus. And they're talking about a brand new social media platform yesterday called Horizon, which looks deceivingly like Second Life. If you know what Second Life is, you may remember this. This was an online virtual world that you could go into. By the way, still exists.
Yeah.
I looked it up this morning. You can still go on to Second Life. There, at the time, several years ago, it became very big. There were like marriages in this thing. There were, it had its own currency. Well, Facebook seems to want to bounce off of that and create their own virtual reality world. And this is their demonstration here.
Why doesn't anyone have legs?
I don't know. I don't know. They don't address that in this video, by the way.
They just didn't want to do the legs part?
The video's a little bit obnoxious if you listen the commercial for it. But
it also says it's not actual VR footage, so it's
well,
nonsense,
that's true.
Basically.
So you would create your own avatar in there. There are games. You can interact with other people. It's a virtual world. Part of it is they want it to be user generated. So you would create, build things of your own that other people could come to. I don't know if it's a little like a Minecraft kind of thing that's going on there. But that is what they're looking to build, is this whole new social media platform that is all online.
This is what the world needs right now.
Ryan, would you hop into Horizon?
It is really interesting. I mean, This is, we've been waiting for the next steps to go into these virtual planes and just kind of exist in there. And this seems like Facebook is trying to make it happen.
I mean,
So
it is very
intriguing.
Ready Player One-ish.
Yeah, it's exactly what we've all thought about for over a decade with VR.
Right.
So that is interesting. Whether it's going to be as compelling as it's drawn up, whether people are going to participate, whether it's going to take off the way they want it to, those are all questions. I think Facebook has a lot of ill will right now, so it's really interesting to see whether people are going to trust them with personal information or creativity or anything like that in this new realm. But I would check it out.
Yeah, well, that is something that they're thinking it'll launch in beta sometime in 2020. So next year, obviously, you have to have a high-end virtual reality set, probably Oculus, since that's Facebook-owned. I don't know if this is something that would come to the Vive or anywhere else.
Yeah, or would it be an app that you could get on PS4 or whatever it might be?
That's true, too. Yeah, to try out something on another line or another platform. But right now, this is where we're at. So next year, 2020. And I think we're going to see more and more of this as virtual reality gets developed more. We're going to see more VR platforms like this. And like you said, a lot of people have tried to get into this before. And this is Facebook, though. They have the power to actually push this forward a little.
It's just so slow. We used to report on VR all the time. It used to give us great traffic because people were very interested in it. Yeah. And now it just seems like people are just waiting for it to happen. When is this going to happen? Stop trying to make VR happen.
Well, I think it's the price has to come down on some of those high-end.
Price has to come down on the gear, and people have to develop much more.
It's got to be standalone gear, and it's got to be high-end. Although that was showcasing standalone gear.
Yeah, that looked good.
So yeah, if that's actually how it works, maybe that is the way it'll go. But that is something you can read about at digitaltrends.com, talking about the Facebook VR and their new social media push that they're going to be doing for Horizon, where you can walk around with no legs. All right, continuing on, a couple other trending news topics that we do want to get to. This has to do with McDonald's and Beyond Meat. So the more and more that we see these alternative meats, I guess you would say, vegan or vegetarian meats, plant-based food that we're seeing go out to a lot of different fast food places. You saw it with KFC, you've seen it with Subway, you've seen it obviously with Burger King and the Impossible Burger. Now you have McDonald's with the PLT, the plant lettuce tomato, and that is Beyond Meat, which they're going to be testing this out now for a 12-week run starting September 30th at 28 restaurants in southwestern Ontario. So you have to be in Canada in order to get this, specifically southwestern Ontario, but they're going to be testing it out.
I just want to point out for whoever was in the marketing department there that all three of those are plants.
Yes, that's true.
Just saying.
Excuse me, Mr. McDonald.
But it rhymes with BLT.
It is. That's what they're going for. But I think this is a huge step, too, because if we already see Burger King doing it, now you see McDonald's testing this out. Presumably, if it goes well, this is something that could roll out all over the place, and it's really becoming a mainstream thing at this point.
Yeah, it's great to see the fast food taking the reins on this one, because really that's what's going to push it to the masses.
Yeah.
They're not going to just go try it by themselves most likely, but if they're sitting in a drive-through and there's a burger and it looks interesting, they might try it. And so that's really pushing this forward. Again, everybody comes back and argues, this isn't really better for you.
Right.
Actually, it's not any better for you than meat. No one said it was. That's the thing.
Nobody's saying that.
Yeah, it's not going to be better for you. It's alternative. It's better for the environment. And if it tastes good, it could be very revolutionary. The interesting thing here is they're using Beyond because Burger King is using the Impossible Burger. So they have to use Beyond. I haven't tried either, but from what I hear, Impossible is the one that's sort of really the game changer. But again, I haven't tried the latest Beyond, so maybe it's a game changer.
I haven't tried Beyond. I've only tried Impossible, and it was good. I mean, it tasted like a burger. It doesn't taste, like a high-end, fancy burger or anything, but it tasted like a burger.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it did taste good. So
especially when you sauce it up and put a bunch of salt.
No, I don't put sauce on mine.
All right, then.
I'm a no-sauce burger kind of
that's
person.
Weird.
I just revealed that.
I did not know that.
Yep, I'm sorry you had to find out this way. All right, so that is McDonald's with their Beyond Meat Burger. You can check that out in southwestern Ontario. I know we need to get to our break here pretty soon, but I did want to bring this up because it's kind of big news for the Star Wars universe and the further, convergence of Star Wars and Disney and Marvel, because now we have word that Kevin Feige is going to be joining the Star Wars universe and writing a Star Wars movie.
Sort of, yeah. Or maybe multiple movies. He's not really a writer-director.
Not a writer.
He's sort of a...
But he's a mastermind.
He's a mastermind. He's He's the guy behind the guy.
He's the guy behind the guy. But yeah, but the entire Marvel universe. I mean, he's been the head of all of that.
Right. He's a puppet master.
Yes, and amazing at it.
He's amazing at it. I just don't know how I feel about this, though. I just don't know how I feel about where Star Wars is going. We're seeing
it is kind of
less interest in it. We're seeing it sort of diluted, as I've talked about like a couple of years ago when they first announced that they were going to do a Star Wars every year and maybe every 6 months.
Yeah.
My worry was that it was going to be diluted. We don't know yet because we haven't really seen anything besides Solo and Rogue One, and Rogue One is still kind of part of the trilogy that's outside of the Skywalker trilogy. Yeah. So we don't know. Maybe it could be cool. There's plenty to work with. I just don't know if Star Wars means the same thing anymore if we make this many movies. But
I think it's obvious that the Jedi are going to come into the next Avengers movie. This is going to be a crossover.
It's crossover.
Thor Wars.
This is that Patton Oswalt, that famous Patton Oswalt monologue.
Oh, is that what he did?
Yeah. Then he finds the Infinity Stone. This is the key to mixing the Star Wars and Marvel worlds.
Yeah, it's all gonna come together.
It could.
Thanos and Vader team up.
I just feel like it's obvious that Marvel has a billion ways to go, but Star Wars used to be this sort of singular thing, and now they're trying to make it into a Marvel kind of thing, and they're using the guy who does Marvel to do it. I just don't know. I'll watch the movies, and then I'll tell you, but I'm not suddenly saying, yeah, this is going to be the best thing ever. And also, is he going to be over-leveraging himself?
Well, and
when he's doing all of the new Marvel stuff, and now he's doing the Star Wars stuff.
It's a lot.
What's going on, Disney? Let us know.
It's a lot to figure out, and you can read about it at digitaltrends.com. Let us know what you think about that. We'll probably get into that a little bit more tomorrow in between the streams. But right now, here's what's going to happen. Ryan, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining. Caleb Dennison is going to be joining us coming up in just a little bit, talking about a new television, talking about 8K TVs. Before that, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and debut a new segment here on Digital Trends Live called Real News with Jess Serba and Aaron Keeney, who sit down and take a look at some of the movies that are coming out this weekend. I think they're going to look at 3 of them and let you know which movie to go see. They kind of analyze a little bit about that. And so that's coming up here. Stick around back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
I'm Aaron Keeney.
And I'm Jess Serba, and this is Real News, the show that helps you decide what movies to go see this weekend.
Well, we have got a lot of exciting films kicking off this fall movie season. First up, Oscar winner Renee Zellweger stars in a biopic of Hollywood legend Judy Garland. Let's take a look at Judy.
Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I've heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true.
I have to say, Jess, what I already love about this film is that we're getting a chance to see Judy Garland at the end of her life, the end of her career.
Right.
You know, I think so many of us think Judy Garland, we think Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, which, by the
Exactly.
way, 80 years old this year. Wizard of
it?
Oz is 80 years old this year. So many of us think Judy Garland, the big star, you know, the big MGM star, studio star in the 1930s and 1940s. But this film offers us a rare glimpse into her life, you know, toward the end, after a lifetime in this business. So I'm so excited to see this intimate look into her life. Also so excited for Renee Zellweger. She's back, and I think she is perfectly cast for this role as Judy Garland.
I completely agree with you on that, and she actually just recently got a 3-minute long standing ovation at the Toronto Film Festival, so we're not the only ones that think that for sure. You know,
back.
Renee has taken a step away from Hollywood a bit over the last few years, and this is a comeback of sorts. This is kind of a return, a film of her return, you know? So I'm really thrilled to see. She's doing it all, right? She's giving us the full Renee. She's acting, she's singing, she's dancing, really doing it all.
Yeah, I know a lot of us think of, you know, Renee Zellweger. We're thinking Jerry Maguire, Bridget Jones'
Right.
Diary, Oscar winner, Cold Mountain.
Yes.
But we have to remember, too, that she was in Chicago. She was
Right.
Roxy Hart in the movie Chicago. She was Oscar nominated for that. So Renee Zellweger has the chops to play Judy Garland,
Absolutely.
clearly. But what I found interesting about this film was that she was just a few months old when Judy Garland died.
Really?
In 1969, yeah, so just a baby. So Renee said that she watched hours and hours and hours. Can you imagine the deep dive into the
No, I
footage of
can't.
Judy Garland? And she just stood in front of her bedroom mirror watching these YouTube videos, just really getting all of the mannerisms, all of the nuances of Judy Garland down, which I think is really great. Renee said that this for her is a real love letter for Judy Garland, which I think is so beautiful.
Oh, yeah. I love this. I'm absolutely going to see this. I think you can tell from our reactions. The trailers give me chills, and I can't wait to see her portray this. Her look and everything is so different and so perfect. So
Yeah.
I'll be there. Yes.
I will definitely be there as well. I'm going to be in the theater, but I've decided I'm going by myself. I'm going to sit in the back of the theater. I think this is going to be an ugly cry situation for me, so I'm just going to sit in the back, have my moment, and I'm going to be there. But it comes out nationally this weekend.
Amazing.
So we can check it out this weekend.
Let's do it. Well, if you like your movies with less tears and a little more Tarantino-style action, then this next movie is for you. Legendary Japanese director Takashi Miike is back at it again. Let's take a first look at First Love.
找到他。那你滚！
这边啊！
全部バレたわ。
誰なんだよこいつ。
ただのボクサー。けどこの子はここから出す。
So this looks like a great mashup of a love story and a classic gangster film. The film itself is set over a single night in Tokyo. It follows Leo, a down-on-his-luck boxer who meets his first love, Monica, who's a call girl.
Okay.
So Leo has no idea that Monica has been wrapped up in a drug smuggling scheme, and chaos everywhere. It looks fun.
It looks amazing. And Takashi Miike, the director, you know, he's such a prolific director, probably the most prolific in the industry right now. This is his 88th feature film that he directed. Yes. So it has world premiere at the Cannes Film Festival this year, and apparently crowds just went wild for this movie. And Takashi Miike has such a cult following, as you might know, but this seems to be more of a mainstream film of his. It's a little more commercial. Might have a little more commercial success. Just on Rotten Tomatoes right now, it has a 100. 100 rating. Yeah, so I think people are responding to it really well, and it could be maybe one of his biggest hits. And I read recently he was talking about, you know, just the business of working so hard
Right.
since 1991. That was his first film
Oh,
that he
wow.
directed. But he said, I'm so much more relaxed when I'm directing a film than when a film is over. He's like, I just like life. Life is better when I'm on a film set.
So he actually received a Lifetime Achievement Award recently at Fantastic Fest, which is the largest genre festival in the U.S. in horror, sci-fi, and fantasy, and it features films from around the world. His breadth of work is clearly massive. Some film titles that you might recognize are Audition, 13 Assassins, Ichi the Killer, and so on. So we're really looking forward to this one. First Love opens in limited cities this weekend, and then around the world October 4th.
Well, switching gears just a little bit
Just
here.
a little.
I have just a little bit. I have young nieces and nephews, and so I consider myself kind of in the know in the animated film
Excellent.
category. And I will say that at our house right now, there is so much excitement for this next film.
Excellent.
Writer-director Jill Colton is taking us on an epic journey through China in DreamWorks film Abominable. So let's take a look at this new film.
I just want to escape. Dad always wanted me to travel the world. Someday.
On that, and she actually just recently got a 3-minute long standing ovation at the Toronto
There's a
Film
Yeti
Festival,
on
so
my
we're not the only ones that think that for sure.
Hey,
You know,
boy.
Renee
Girl.
has taken a step away from Hollywood a bit over the last few years, and
you're
this
definitely
is
a
a
boy.
comeback of sorts. This is kind of
I
a
don't know
return,
where you came
a
from.
film of return, you know. So
He escaped. I want my Yeti back.
Is that your home? No way.
Here's the question. If you find a Yeti on your roof, are you engaging with the Yeti or are you just pretending you don't see the Yeti? I mean, what do
Well-
you do? It's you know, Thursday morning and there's a Yeti. I don't know. Anyway.
well, teenager Yi here, who is searching for adventure, does find a Yeti on her roof. Her and her two friends embark on a crazy adventure to reunite this magical creature with his family. But as with any good adventure story, of course, there's the bad guys who are trying to catch this magnificent beast to use for their own gains. I love that this is showcasing a multicultural platform. This is actually the first big studio CG film with a Chinese cast and set in China. So not only is it's a beautiful story, but as you can see, it's completely visually stunning.
You know, writer-director Jill Colton, again, many people who know animation know that she is such a pioneer
Right.
in this field in 2D formats, 3D formats, and specifically on this film, they had a massive visual effects team. And you know, they developed special software for some of
Right.
these characters, and they had team meetings of 70 people strong, where
Right.
she'd have to present her ideas of her script of what they could create. And one story that I love, she talks about a character that she created. She wanted these whooping birds
Okay.
in the film, and so she had this in her head, in the script, and she brought it to her team, this team of 70 people, and she said, "This is what I want." And they said, "Well, we can't do the birds. We don't have it in the budget. We can't make these birds. We don't have the money. We don't have the time to do the birds. But here is a list of some things that we can do."
Okay.
So they went through this stack of things, and they decided on snakes. They said, "Let's just do snakes. That's fine. It's snakes." And so apparently some of the studio execs and some people thought, these snakes are ridiculous. Let's
Right.
put them in. They're kind of ridiculous. This isn't going to test well. And so Jill Colton, the director, said, "Well, let's just see. Let's just see how it tests." And at the test screenings of this film, the whooping snakes were probably the stars of the show.
course,
The stars
of
of the
course
show.
they were.
So then the notes from the studio
Oh,
were
that's
more
great.
snakes, more snakes, put more snakes in there. So we will see these whooping snakes in the film. Also, you'll see just the visual magic
Yeah.
in this movie, turning flower fields into waves,
Right.
and you see these clouds in the sky turn into koi fish, and they're swimming through the sky. It is
so
just
beautiful.
absolutely breathtaking.
Right.
And I think just in watching this, you can be so enraptured by the magic of it all. It's interesting to think about all of the time, all of the technology,
Right.
all of the talent that goes into creating this magic. And so one thing I do want to add, that Jill Colton, the writer and director of Abominable, she is the first female director of an animated feature film. Can you
Really?
believe that, first of all? It's not for this movie, it was for a film, Open Season, a few
Okay.
years ago, but I'm going to the theater, not only for the visual effects of this film
Right.
and the story, but to support women
Yes,
in
for
film.
sure.
The percentage of women directors in Hollywood is despicable, in my opinion, and we
Right.
got to get out there. We have to get to the box office. We have to support these
Completely
women
agree.
in film.
Definitely.
For the ladies, let's go out there for the ladies.
Let's do it. And for the Yetis.
And the
You
Yetis.
guys can catch this in theaters this weekend. Thanks so much for watching Real News. We'll see you here next week.
And welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thank you for joining us. We broadcast live every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. So hit that subscribe button on whatever platform you are watching. I'm Greg Nibbler, joined now by Mr. Caleb Dennison.
Hey, that's me.
That is you. Thank you for the
morning.
demonstration, too, of the...
That's how you subscribe.
That's it. Yep,
Click
just
all the
like that.
buttons.
That's all you need to know. So that's already a lesson that we've learned, but that's not all we're talking about today.
No, definitely not. We're going to be talking about spicy chicken nuggets.
Spicy chicken nuggets at the end, but first, televisions.
Sorry, I had to throw you.
You had to throw it. No, because now that's all I'm going to think about. But let's talk about this LG 8K television that.
Yeah.
Now 8K gets brought up a lot here on the show, and people are like, why do we need 8K televisions?
Yeah,
Should I buy one?
we're going to address that in a second.
Okay.
But I have to start off by saying this is by far the most amazing looking television I've ever seen.
That is saying a lot.
Yeah, it's
a lot for you to say that because you see all of the television.
It's true.
All of them.
And we'd seen it before. It was showed off first at IFA in Berlin back last year, and then it showed up at CES after that, and then it was back at IFA again this year. This time them just saying, hey, we're actually selling it now. It's not just a promise, it's a real product. You can buy it for the low price of $30,000. And so, LG flew me down. It's one of those situations where they can't afford to fly the TV to the reviewer like they normally do.
Right.
So instead they flew the reviewer, me, down to the TV. So
that
myself
says
and
a lot about how expensive this television
yeah,
is.
well, I mean, it's kind of an elaborate setup. It's really big. It's 88 inches.
So this is the LG Z9 88-inch
8K OLED TV.
HDR as well.
Yeah, it's got all the acronyms,
It's
all
got
the
all of it.
important TV
The whole
acronyms.
thing, all the
it's
bells
all
and
up in there. And look, I mean, it's just absolutely amazing picture quality. So it's a combination of things, right? It's a combination of the 8K resolution, which, yes, does make a difference once you get to a certain size. I know there's a lot of doubters out there. I'll talk about that in a second.
Okay.
Also, it's a really cool setup. It comes on this stand. You can't wall mount it, not easily anyway. So it comes on that big old stand, and that stand actually has some of the hardware in it, and it's got like little funnels for the speaker system.
Okay.
Sounded decent,
Yeah.
not good enough for a $30,000 TV. You're probably going to want to set up a big old surround
Right.
system on that surround. It's different than surround sound.
Add one more.
But here's the thing: a lot of people are up in arms about 8K. Gosh, I just got a 4K TV. Some people haven't even bought a 4K TV yet.
Right.
And so why with the 8K thing? And I asked LG about that. Samsung's done the same. They put out an 8K TV as well. It's an LED TV. It's not OLED. But still, we're seeing these 8K TVs coming out.
Right.
Why? Well, LG believes that there's a meaningful improvement to picture quality when you step up to that resolution, especially with a really big TV. TVs are getting bigger, but our living rooms aren't.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, which is an issue that I would have. I don't even think an 88-inch would work.
Right.
Where I watch television.
You would think. Well, here's the thing. If you can fit it, it'll work. It is a big TV, but 65 inch is the new normal now, and we're creeping up slowly towards the 70-inch sizes.
So this is the new normal.
Yeah, it is the new normal. So 8K resolution at a larger screen size makes a visible difference. I've compared, same size 8K versus 4K TVs, and there's definitely a noticeable difference there. You need to be fairly close to see it, but I mean, there's this sense of depth and realism that is almost 3D, but it's not that fake 3D that we gave up on a few years ago. It just has this natural sense of depth to it. And part of the reason is because LG is making what they call real 8K. Now, this is
that a marketing term?
It is a marketing term in a way, and they're definitely taking a swipe at Samsung here, because right now, Samsung is the other major player in the 8K game. We will see 8K TVs from TCL and Hisense and a few others later on down the road. But right now, LG and Samsung are battling it out, as they often do. There's a lot of rivalry there, and so they are taking swipes at each other in the public sphere and in the press. And a lot of it is around this notion of 8K. So in a moment ago, you probably saw a little graphic there where on the left, things looked blurry, and on the right, they looked very clear. What you're actually seeing there is it's like a microscope put up on the screen. You're seeing individual pixels there. So they look very big, but they're actually extremely small. On the left is a competing 8K LED TV. Let's just go ahead and call it out. That's Samsung's. And on the right is LG's. And what you can see is there's a very clear definition between the pixels on the LG set, and on the Samsung, not so much.
Was that good or bad, though?
It's technically supposed to be not good.
Okay.
Not good, not terrible, but also not good. So there's this, as with almost anything, there are these standards companies or boards, right? Which say for
verify this is
for image quality you got to have this. For electrical standards you've got UL. So for imaging standards there is a board that says, look, you need to be able to have at least, like a 30% definition between pixels for it to be distinguishable by any human's eye. And what LG is saying is their TVs do that, and the competitions do not. And they claim to have a much more impressive 8K display, and I would agree with them.
Well, I mean,
it's pretty impressive.
And unfortunately, that's something that you have to see in person, but that's what you get to do is, let us know. And I mean, I love the idea of this, but translating through to actual people buying it, unless you're buying the $30,000 television, how does this technology end up filtering down to us?
Well, let's be clear. There are not that many people that are going to be buying a $30,000 TV.
Right. But the idea of that technology, though, that's something I'm sure that's going to be starting to use.
Well, here's the thing, Greg. What they're actually doing is they are courting Hollywood. They're trying to convince Hollywood that making a move to 8K is a good idea.
Gotcha.
Because it's going to require Hollywood to buy new cameras, go through a new workflow. It's going to be a fairly expensive process. I mean, Hollywood's got tons and tons of money, but
that's still a lot of equipment to buy.
It's a lot of equipment. It's a lot of effort. Is it really a smart idea? LG's trying to make the case that it is, and they believe their TV is going to do that.
Yeah.
Because let's look at history. Believe it or not, it was 8 years ago that 4K first came out.
Wow.
And those first 4K TVs, LG had one for $20,000, Sony had one for $25,000. So when you consider that was 8 years ago, $30,000 is right in the ballpark for the very first one of something. And I mean, it took us a while to get 4K content to watch. Right now there's lots of it on Netflix and Amazon, other streaming services. Apple streams a bunch of 4K HDR stuff.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the broadcast industry has not caught up. You don't get to see a lot of 4K sports. You're definitely not getting much 4K from your cable or satellite company. So to a lot of people, it feels like 4K hasn't really arrived, which I think is why everybody's up in arms over, what are you doing with 8K? You haven't even finished the job with 4K, and now you're pushing us to 8K. Well, I just wanted to come on the live show today to explain that really the 8K TV is not very consumer focused right now. Right now, they're trying to get into the industry and say, look at what you can do.
People to make
look how beautiful your stuff could look if you bought into this whole idea. And ultimately, yeah, I think 8 years from now, 8K TVs, especially above 65 inches, are probably going to be the new norm. You can't go out and buy a 1080p 55-inch TV anymore.
No,
it's just not possible. 4K is
why
the new
would
normal.
you?
It doesn't matter whether you want it or not.
Right.
Like, you're going to get it because that's
Yeah.
all that's available for purchase anymore. I think we're going to see something similar happening with 8K down the line, in that it's just going to become the new normal for larger, format screen sizes. And I, for one, am really excited about it. Yeah, it's going to take the rest of the industry a long time to catch up, but this is how we make advancements.
Yeah,
You know?
and that's what we want to see. We want to see companies pushing that technological boundary, pushing the industry forward, and eventually, like I said, 8 years ago, 4Ks were $25,000. Now
Everybody
that's pretty much
balked
all you
at
can
it.
buy.
Yeah.
Like, I just bought one for I think $180.
Yeah.
Over the Amazon Prime deal. So yeah, they are a lot cheaper now, and this is what we're seeing with the future. So don't worry about going out and getting an 8K television yet, but be excited, I think, about where this can go.
Yeah, just know that you're kind of staring 10 years into the future
Yeah.
with this, and that's why they're doing it.
Well, you can read all about this at digitaltrends.com. Caleb gets to check all of this out, which it's pretty rough. I'm not going to lie. He gets to look at these amazing televisions.
It's not terrible.
But then we get to read about them and look at the future. And Caleb, thank you for explaining this.
You're so welcome. Glad to be here.
And thanks to everybody who's tuning in to Digital Trends Live. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. Then we're going to be heading to our New York studio for an interview coming up here. But I want everybody to stick around, drop in your comments, your questions, whatever you want to bring up. Back in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thanks for joining us. We're here every single weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you all of the tech headlines, news, and interviews that you need to get through the day. And we have an interview coming up right now. I'm here in our Portland, Oregon studio, but we're going to be heading to New York, where John Velasco is standing by. He's going to be interviewing Ryan DeTurt, the CEO of Influential, a really interesting platform that they have created. But I'm going to hand it over right now. John, take it away.
Thanks, Greg. Hey, everyone. It's John Velasco here with Digital Trends, and it's a beautiful, Thursday afternoon here in New York City. Yeah. And to my right here, we have Ryan DeTurt, who is the CEO of Influential. So thanks for coming by here.
Great to meet you. Thanks.
So Ryan, just tell us, what is Influential for our audience?
Sure. I'm Ryan, I'm the CEO and founder, and essentially we are a social data and conversion company that matches brands to influencers. Micro, macro, mega, celebrity size, or the ones that you never heard of before, on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, and YouTube. And essentially, how do you match the best possible influence to create content on these platforms? And what makes this truly special is the ability to actually map that back to real-world results. TV tune-in, foot traffic into to retail stores, or sales into like grocery stores.
So I was looking it up, and you have this thing called AI, but not in the same sense as we're traditionally thinking of like artificial intelligence. Can you talk more about what AI means to you guys?
Sure. So, AI usually is thought of as artificial intelligence. We think of it as augmented intelligence. How does human perception plus machine learning equals the best possible results? And there is no silver bullet where you simply turn on a machine. It's not Skynet, nothing blows up. Instead, we take all the data that exists on social, these unstructured data sets, of text, image, video. And how do you make it actionable? How do you make it structured? And if you do that properly, you can identify which trends you should track if you're a brand, which content is going to resonate the best per platform, and which influencers actually align with your brand based on the last 3 to 5 years of their data on social, as opposed to just that person looks the part. But that might not be the case. Their audience might be different. They might talk about other competitors. All of those insights are now part of using the AI technology we built with IBM Watson.
So you described influential as an AI social data and conversion technology. So can you tell us a little bit more about how that works and the platform behind it?
Sure. So we are the With Watson partner for IBM. We actually built that back in 2015 and launched it for our first campaign Super Bowl. It was a really great moment for our company. And when we did that, we saw that very quickly that the results exponentially increased by using AI to inform the selection of influencer and the creation of content. So what happens is when our system, which is 1 million plus influencers, when a brand comes onto it or comes to us to ask for our help, we'll find 5, 10, 20, 100 influencers that all perfectly align demographically with a brand, contextually, even psychographically. This thing is a little scary, but psychographics for the most part means, am I hedonistic when I speak now or online? Am I altruistic? Almost like a Myers-Briggs psychology plan. And you can take that and say, does my brand come across a certain way? Does the influencer also match that? And if you do it properly, you see a great lift in engagement and overall ROI.
So your platform is mobile first. Now, what is the significance of that in general and specifically relating to the industry?
Yeah, I mean, years ago, when we first started this, we built an app for influencers to get deal flow. And I mean, old school was, I'm going to go to my desktop and create a video and upload it and be kind of long, took hours, took days to get done. We have all of our influencers, 1 million plus, to get push notified with an opportunity. Hey, congratulations. XYZ CPG brand wants to work with you. They can create content in that moment, upload it to the platform, and a brand can make sure that's exactly what they want to put out to the world. And then we can actually, because they give us their API token, the ability to post, we can post on behalf of the influencer, but through their own feed. It's like an escrow bank.
Okay.
So once we have that mobile first ability, we had it from a few years back, it now allows for us to seamlessly do hundreds of campaigns a month with the biggest Fortune 1000s.
So a lot of kids nowadays want to become YouTubers
Sure.
and influencers. So can you talk more about, I guess, the transparency between the brands and the influencers as far as them getting paid?
Yeah. So it's a massive economy. I think in 2014, 2013, we're talking about a $500 million economy. It's now upwards of $8 billion. That's a mixture of both the cost of influencers getting paid out, but also the paid media platforms. And with that, if you're in fact a multi-100,000 to multi-million follower account or subscriber account, you can make tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands very easily, either through the platforms themselves, like a YouTube, have like the AdSense of it all, but branded content. We're paying out hundreds to tens of thousands to even hundreds of thousands of dollars to influencers when they are a great fit for a brand. And I have many friends that were couch surfing back in 2014 who are now multi-millionaires, and we bring them deal flow. They found ways to integrate either long-term with a brand or get deals on a consistent basis to basically cover their own costs, but also even pay for their parents or pay for their siblings to come out to LA or to New York, et cetera.
The way brands work with influencers is evolving. What is the importance of treating an influencer partnership like with a real media channel?
Yeah, so when you think of an influencer, they're a content creator, but they have two things that they can be distributed through. One is a native channel, so they're hundreds of thousands to millions of followers, and that whole follower base never gets fully activated. It's like a percentage of it. Like for Instagram, maybe 30% of them might actually see that content, so it's not the full 100,000 followers you have. You can then augment that through paid media. So these platforms, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook,
like
etc.
And
Yeah, it's the white, they call it whitelisting or boosting. How do you then take that content and make sure it's seen by just Chicago or just a certain audience base that you care about, certain age range? So it's now a mix of the media buy on social isn't just the content from the influencer natively, but how do you make sure it hits people the way you would buy digital or linear TV?
I like it how you guys work with a lot of brands, big names, big influencers, and also on a hyper-local basis. But my last question for you is, what is your #1 pro tip for anyone who wants to work with an influencer?
Well, first off, if you want to save your jobs, be sure that their brand safe. A lot of things have happened over the last 5 years where they might have said something that might have been okay in 2014. It's not okay now.
Watch out for those things.
Yeah, exactly. Our platform, we check for profanity, we check for nudity, gun usage, or things that are potentially not brand safe. We even check for DUIs and felonies.
So it's a pretty comprehensive vetting process that
you have to do that. And you don't always have to use us, but you have to use your best judgment. I mean, honestly, Google them, go on DMV records, find ways to make sure that person does not become the face of your activation. You get in trouble because someone points out that they're not a great fit and they did something bad years ago.
And at the end of the day, I guess it's to protect the brand, your clients and all that. So
100%, yeah.
Well, thank you, Ryan. We're going to go on break right now, but stay tuned. You'll see Greg and the team over in Portland, so we'll be right back.
And we are back with more Digital Trends Live. Thank you for joining us wherever you find us. We do appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button. Make sure you get the notifications when we do go live, and let's fill you in on some more tech headlines right now. So this is a story you can read at digitaltrends.com, and it has to do with this further proliferation of autonomous vehicles, in particular in the commercial industry when it comes to trucks. And this is a Scandinavian company, a Swedish company actually, named Scania. Shockingly enough, and it has to do with a test that they're doing with these new autonomous trucks that they have, and it's in particular to help work on dangerous work sites, to help further with, they're showcasing here gravel, like the gravel industry, but looking at construction sites and even mining operations to where they could utilize these giant vehicles in a safer way. There's a few things with them. They're pretty unique in that they don't even have a cab on them. There is no way for a person to be a part of this truck. So it's called the Scania AXL, and it's technically a concept vehicle, but they did build some. And it has, again, no steering wheel. There's not a cab. And what it is it's all remotely controlled. You can either have it autonomously operate, or you can actually have someone sit there and put in coordinates, tell it where to go, tell it how fast to go. And it's a pretty interesting use of that kind of technology. Looking at where they're going with it, and we actually had a statement from Claes Eriksson, who is one of the representatives for the research and development team at Scania, and they want to see this kind of thing to be used in a lot more operations like this. So again, construction being a huge portion of that. And you know, the more that we see here in the U.S., a lot of autonomous vehicles being tested on the roadways. There are a number of different plans for semi-trucks to where these would be tested to deliver mail. Even the U.S. Postal Service is testing this out. There's all kinds of companies that UPS is testing it out. And the idea would be that it's safer because it's all programmed via computer. It's all AI. It's all monitoring the road. And it's that whole idea of that as we get into more autonomous vehicles on our roadways, that they're going to be safer, and that's what they're looking at with this, only from the commercial aspect. Now, one thing with this, there's a lot of regulations that have to go into place in order for autonomous vehicles to end up on our roads. You need all kinds of safety tests and different things that will have to be in place before we see something like this, where it's fully autonomous without somebody in the cab. But when you have something on a commercial side, on an operation that is not regulated by the government, on private property, that's where we're going to see more and more of this happen. You see some of it in shipping yards already with smaller versions of this, but that's one that I think we could see this rolling out, something like this, a lot sooner than we'll see on our roadways. Read more about that at digitaltrends.com. All right, let's continue on and talk about some more trending news. This one I think it's pretty interesting when it comes to travel. I mean, I think we can all agree that the faster, well, at least I can say this, is that the faster the plane ride is, the better. That's fine with me. I don't think any of us like sitting on a 16-hour plane ride or anything like that. You know, short ones are fine, but 16 hours, that's a long time. Well, there's a company that's working on this right now and working on ways that we can fly faster. It's called Reaction Engines. That's the name of this company. It's an English company working on a new kind of rocket-powered commercial plane. It's technically a space plane, and they're saying that this rocket could be adapted to a number of different things, but looking on the commercial aspect of it, this is what they are claiming. They're saying that their rocket could take commercial airlines up to a Mach 5 speed. That is incredibly fast. That's up to 4,000 miles per hour is what they're talking about when it comes down to it. And with that, they would be able to send commercial flights from London to Sydney in 4 hours. 4 hours is how fast they would be able to do that. That's very fast. If you think about that kind of a flight, that's normally many, many hours to get from London to Sydney. And there's kind of a concept of what they're looking at and how they think this could be worked out. So to clarify, that's hypersonic speed. Now, the last time we had a plane that came even close to that was the Concorde, which stopped flying back in, I believe it was 2003 is how long that lasted before they stopped flying it. But with this kind of concept, what they would be able to do is get so high up into the atmosphere, they could even go into space if they wanted to, but get very, very, very high up so they can kind of go up, drop back down on where they're at. There's a couple of things that they're saying are good with this. One of them being that the pollution side of things are are definitely something that they would be able to cut down on because it's going so high. And again, we can take a look at it here and just kind of look at what they're looking at when it comes to how the rocket is put together and what some of the concepts are of what they're going for. And this is talking about how they would about making this actually happen. So it's pretty interesting. There's a combination of hydrogen and oxygen is how that would burn. So they're saying it's greener, it's cheaper because of that hydrogen aspect. Now, one of the key things too, just when on the construction of it for the mechanical engineering side, is that you have to keep those things cool. So like fighter jets, they can go very fast, but they have huge rockets. They're a very big proportion to the actual plane, and there's special technology that's utilized for that. They've developed a special technology in order to cool it, because at that speed, the metal starts to melt. And that's one of the big issues why we don't have more of these planes out right now. But they think they've come up with a technology that can help with that. And they're saying we could see this by the late 2020s, early 2030s. I think we can all agree that would be awesome, or at least myself. I would definitely ride in this one. I know I keep saying we all. Maybe you're not one of those people, but you can let us know in the comments what you think about that. I think it's pretty cool. You can check it out at digitaltrends.com. Final topic that we are going to talk about right now is just another trending story that I want to bring up for you, and that has to do with an announcement from NASA, and in particular, it's a graphic they came out with. And it's something that you can go very in-depth with this when you get into the science of it, but it's kind of cool as far as breaking it down and making it a little bit more understandable when we're talking about black holes. Now, black holes have certainly been in the news a lot. We had the very first photo of a black hole that was taken, which took about 12 different telescopes, I believe, from around the world, working in conjunction to take that photo. Well, this is an image that NASA put out, and it's kind of trending right now, where it's showcasing how a black hole actually works to get a better understanding of what it does to light, to matter, to energy when something's going in it. So what we're looking at is a straight plane, but you see it bend up there at the back. That's showcasing how that strong of gravity actually warps time and space. And that's what they want you to see with this. That's to get a better visual image of how that actually works. So it's coming to you. It looks like it's going faster, going away. You see it kind of spread out. And there's a lot to really analyze with it. And they go in depth a little bit more on at nasa.gov, kind of explaining what it is that we're looking at and how that actually works. And again, there's a lot of heavy science that goes into it. This is them making it a little bit easier for us to understand some of Einstein's theories and how this could work. So this was created by a gentleman named Jeremy Schnittman, who is who works for NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center in Greenbelt, Maryland. So that's actually who came up with this new style, or with this graphic and with this image of how it actually looks. And it's a pretty cool graphic. It's a pretty cool way to look at a black hole and understand how that's actually affecting things. So you can take a look at that, again, at digitaltrends.com. We've got an article going up on that. It's called a photon ring, and showcasing how we can bend time and space when it comes to a black hole. I know that's a lot, but it's kind of interesting when you actually get down to it and take a look at it. We talk about a lot of interesting things here on Digital Trends Live, and I want to thank everybody who joins us here every day. And we like to talk about technology and how it's affecting you, and I think certainly something that we're all aware of now is that we are in the era of big data. A lot of data is out there. Data is very valuable. What is being done with it? How is it being utilized? How is it being applied to different ways that we can actually interact with? How is technology utilizing it? Well, that's what we're going to talk about right now. We have a special guest joining us. We have the owner of Sevens Strategy, Sarah Evans, who's on with us right now. Sarah, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me today. It's my pleasure.
Really excited to talk about your company and what you're doing with data, but can we get a little bit of your background and what led you to form this?
Sure. So I'm a digital correspondent and consultant, and I work with brands all of the time. And one of the evolutions over the past 10 years of having my company, I've seen is the currency of data, how important it is, how much everybody wants to get it and use it to form decisions to help better reach consumers and customers and change the way they're performing for the consumer life cycle. But I get to work with really big brands too, who are doing some innovative things with how they're not keeping data private. And really that's a trend I would love to see the continuation of, because it's really scary to think about how much brands and companies know about you just from your social habits and what you're clicking on the internet.
Right. I think a lot more people are becoming aware of that just with some of the data breaches that have come out between Equifax and Facebook and everybody else that's had their data exposed to that. You start to really understand how much is available. A couple of things that I want to actually touch on that you talked about. Now, you mentioned the currency of data, and I think that's really important for everybody to really understand of how valuable that information is to companies. How is that being traded? How is that being monetized?
Well, number one is the consumer. If you're not paying for something, you are the currency, right?
Yeah.
It's your data that's being used. And companies are using it in a myriad of ways. Everything from, I just got back from Ad Week in New York and saw on the low end, people are being hit with 5,000 to 10,000 ads per day. And that's from the data that you're providing to companies that they can hyper target what they think you might be based on your persona or profile to target you with snacks for your cat or new backpacks for your child or go get a spa massage because you're exhausted. So it's not a coincidence what you're actually seeing. So many people say, oh, I think my phone's listening to me, but most of it is really what we're searching for, clicking on, engaging with, or interacting with online, because that data is being used and sold.
So talking about that from the company's standpoint, what do you think is the best way for companies to handle that kind of data, maybe as a whole, just industry-wide? How do you think that we should be managing that?
If I could wave a magic wand and really make this a perfect world, it would be about mindfulness with data, being aware of the amount of power and control you have with that information. And there aren't many companies that are really being out in the forefront saying that's important to us. One of the things when I was doing some work with Adobe, one of the things that they pride themselves on is being mindful with what they're doing. It's part of their promise to people. And on that note, looking at how a company like that is utilizing data, they have something really cool, which is one of the reasons that sparked me wanting to come on Digital Trends, was this thing, Hack the Huddle, that they're doing. Now, I'm not into football. It's not my jam. But if you're a fantasy football people, they're actually packaging down all of this data that they have and making it available for avid fantasy football players. So you can go on and get stats for your favorite teams and favorite players and actually become, in essence, a better fantasy football player. And this is really about opening up data. This is something they could hide and keep to themselves, but it's putting it out there for a fan base that could actually utilize it and have fun with it, but it's a model of how businesses can do more with the data that they have.
I think that's a great model right there. Yeah, of talking about how we can utilize that data, but in a safe way. Can you think of any other examples of using that kind of model that would be maybe that could be applied to as far as how we utilize data?
I think there's several implications for that. We can look at it from a healthcare front. People who need better access to medications or medical treatment. If we could use data of people who are not well or are searching for things that have to do with health implications, if we could package that together and provide better access to them, better care to them, especially in rural areas or for people who are lower income, I feel like we could do good. We could do more with that. So that's something that I haven't seen yet. I've also seen on a flip side, there was a startup that launched last week that was an AI powered company that read terms and conditions for you. So if you're not someone who is tech savvy, you can actually take more ownership over what you're sharing with companies, or deciding you don't want to use them because their terms and conditions aren't up to your privacy standards.
That's great because, I mean, I'll be honest, I've clicked through many things without actually reading the terms and conditions. Yeah, I think we all are. So somebody that can actually help us out with that, that's great to find all the red flags in there. Well, you mentioned startups. Let's transition and talk a little bit about that, because I know, you work on strategy for a lot of different things, and startups in particular. We wanted to talk a little bit about that startup capital that's needed, because that seems like that's one of the biggest obstacles. Obviously, money's an obstacle for a number of reasons, but when you're a startup, it's so valuable. You need to get that funding, and I guess there's some different ways that we can go about that. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, one of the things that I found with so many of the companies that I work with is death by funding. They get so caught up in trying to raise the money that they lose the most important part, which is building a healthy, successful, and scalable company. And it's hard because most of them are just at the mercy of the model. This is how it's always been done. We have to go after these large funding rounds. Media won't cover us unless we have these really cool billions or millions to talk about.
Right.
And I came across this company last week called York IE, and they're a successful company in and of themselves and have some major success under their belt already. But their goal is to actually change how we fund early stage startups. And it really starts with one company like that, who I believe can really make a difference and start funding people. That their goal is to help startups from the very beginning stop chasing these massive fundraisers. And of course, they're very open to saying if you're a technology or need a large infrastructure type startup, obviously money is a concern. But if you're a SaaS type company or someone that doesn't need to utilize these large funding rounds, let's concentrate on the company itself, because if you're sustainable and scalable over time, you're going to be more sellable, and be worth more in the long end. And I think that as a goal in general, focusing on the long game instead of the quick round of funding could really change things for all startups, investors alike, because everyone's going to win at the end, but it takes someone actually doing it to change and offer a new model.
And understanding that it is a long haul, that you're not just going to have that overnight success. It's not, I mean, maybe there's every once in a while, you get like a WeWork that's just valued at billions of dollars right away. But there's a lot of problems that come with that too. Because
we've seen it.
Yeah, we've seen it exactly playing out right now. So yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it, and just to have somebody kind of scale back just a little bit and be like, okay, you're in this for a reason. You started this business for a reason. Stick true to that and take your time that it takes to build that out. I think that's a great way to look at that. Talking about businesses too and other strategies, I know you're a wealth of information when it comes to this. Let's talk a little bit about social media and some strategies along those lines.
Oh, my favorite topic. One of the things I've really been focusing on this past year is helping content creators think about the fine balance of art and science with their writing. I've noticed this amazing trend of these creatives who create and write beautiful content for the web, and then these SEO people who write exclusively for search engines. And we are starting to see a mashup of content that just isn't relatable. It loses tone, it loses voice. And for the past couple months, I have been lucky to be in private beta for this company that's going to be launching next week called Ink. And they're really modeling what I've been calling content performance optimization. And it's this delicate balance of art and science where you can still be a great writer, but there's a tool that's going to analyze your grammar and your SEO based on what's most important right now, not outdated trends, and help that content rank higher online. And that's the trend where I think we're going to be moving for content, that you can still reach consumers with real language, but being mindful of what search engines are looking for, and you're going to have more credible content. I guess I'd put it this way, it's like driving with Waze. You could still drive a car, but if you have that guidance and that guiding principle, you can do better.
Who wants to drive without it, if you're going through traffic?
Not me.
I mean, really. Yeah, I don't either. That's a great analogy. So looking at that, I kind of want to think about how that would actually work. So somebody's writing their post or they're advertising whatever their new product is. So you write this out how you think it's going to be sounding the best, with your own creative input. And then it goes through and just corrects things and makes suggestions.
So what it does right now is you write it all in this distraction-free writing platform. You have to know what keywords you're going to rank for. That's essential.
Gotcha.
And so any good content writer goes in with that in mind. And once you're done, it does this in a very nice and polite way. It'll say, is this appropriate? It's semantic based. So is this content appropriate for this audience? Is it passive voice? Maybe it's okay for who you're writing for. And then here's 7 other prescriptive steps that you can change and use in order to have the most beneficial content for that particular audience. So it's hyper focused. And I've even started writing my emails in it, frankly, for the distraction-free writing, because ADD, ADHD, whatever you have, sometimes it's nice to not have any notifications.
Right. I feel like we all have a little bit of that right now, just with so many different notifications coming through. I start emails and then I don't finish them. So yeah, something like this that can actually, make it sound the way it should, that I'm trying to get across. I love that idea of that kind of marrying of technology. Any other trend that you see going forward that you would want people to know about?
I think in general, so we're seeing content performance optimization, private democratization of data, and and I think just more ownership over data. I think we're going to see people starting to say, I want to know what you know about me and what you're doing with it, and we'll see more moves for that. And we have organizations that already exist that are there to help and protect and provide, but it's really the consumers becoming more educated and having a voice.
Nice. Well, I want to say thank you very much for joining us here on Digital Trends to talk about all this. And I want everybody to know, too, if they want to consult with you, if they want to work with your company, what is the best way for them to do that?
You know what? You can find me on Twitter at PR Sarah Evans with an H, and my Twitter bio is my business card, and we can connect there and move on from there. I keep it pretty easy and accessible.
That is nice and simple, so I think everybody should be able to figure that part out. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for being here on Digital Trends Live. Really appreciate your input, fascinating discussion, and thanks for being here and a part of the show.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right, really interesting, thinking about where we're going with technology and how businesses can adapt to it. I mean, we're all in business in some way, shape, or form, and I think those are lessons that we can all utilize. All right, let's go back through and take a look at some of the things that we talked about on today's episode of Digital Trends Live. As always, we've talked about a lot. We brought you a lot of information, but you can go and read more about all of this information at digitaltrends.com. At the beginning of the show, we had Ryan Juanita in here talking about the new Amazon devices. He was very interested in the Dolby Atmos aspect of that new speaker. How they can actually make that work. We'll find out, but you can read more at digitaltrends.com. Continuing on through the show, we had the debut of our new segment here on Digital Trends with Real Talk, and that was real news, and that is with Jess Serba and Aaron Keeney. So talking about some trailers that are coming up. It's brand new. I'll get it right next time. So continuing on, we had Caleb Dennison, who was in here talking about that LG 8K television. So very, very cool, kind of the cutting edge, and why 8K televisions matter. No, you don't have to go out and buy one right now, but it's pretty cool technology and where that's going to be going. We went to our New York studio where we had John Velasco standing by with Ryan DeTurt, the CEO of Influential, talking about different platforms for influencers and how you can monetize and utilize that aspect of marketing. And then we had Sarah Evans, the owner of Seventh Strategy, talking about a bunch of different things. Very interesting. You can go back through and take a look at that as well. And I want to say thank you to everybody who joins us here on Digital Trends Live. We do appreciate it. We broadcast live here every single weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow with more Digital Trends Live.